Okay, so we've been solving systems of equations for a little while now, and I wanted to just share with you a way you could use your calculator to help you in solving systems of equations. One of the ways you can use your calculator a little more effectively is through some graphing features. We touched on that a little bit with graphing, but we were mostly graphing by hand and not using our technology. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn on my calculator, and I'm going to select a new document, and I'm going to add graph to it. Okay, so now I'm here and it says f of x, f1 of x equals blank, and that's where I'm supposed to type in, and we notice that our equations are not written in that format. So I could take the time and solve for y and be able to put them in, but your calculator will allow us to input the equations here, but what we have to do is we have to delete the equal sign, and then we're going to choose number 6 so that we get the relation. Okay, now there's the downside is we can't do tables when we do a relationship. The calculator won't do that, but it will graph nicely and we'll be able to do some other things there. So we just want to type in 4x plus y equals -5. We hit enter and we have our graph. Now we hit the tab and we type in the next equation, 2x minus y equals -1. And we press enter. And now we're looking here at where they intersect. That's our solution. Now sometimes that's a little tricky to figure out just by looking, and some of you have been tracing and trying to do it that way. I'm going to show you a little easier way. If you go to menu 6, which is analyze, and do you see number 4 says intersection? So we're going to choose number 4. So that was menu 6-4, and it brings up this little dotted line. And so you use your cursor keys to move it around, and what you want to do is you want to put it to the left and then to the right of your intersection point. And it came up and said intersection, and it gives you that point. Right there, it says -1, -1. So I know my solution, back over here, my solution is simply -1, -1. Okay. Similarly, I've got 2a plus 3b, so if I was going to graph it, I would need to change this one to x and the other to y. And it wouldn't matter which I did, just as long as I kept it consistent for both equations. Okay. Now, that's completely doable. So we just probably want to get rid of the lines that are in there. Two ways to do it. You can tab and delete, or you can just simply menu, actions, so menu 1, and then number 6 right there says to delete all. Okay, and yes, we do. All right, so we start again. We hit our tab key to bring that up. Notice it's still in relation because I didn't close the document yet, so it'll stay here until I edit it and tell it to do something else. All right, so here I would type 2x plus 3y equals 7. Enter, and then hit tab again, -2x plus 2y equals -2. All right, so they're graphed. I can see my point of intersection. So now menu 6, 4, and I use my cursor keys to bring the dotted line to the left and then to the right, and it comes up and says intersection, and that appears to be at 2, 1. Okay. Now, if you're like me and you have a little trouble, remember you can grab with your things on your screen and move them so your label could be there, but that's not always necessary, but we know that that answer is 2, 1. Okay, and we could continue to do this with all of these, but I'm going to share with you another way that we can solve our systems, and that is by calculating. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a calculator. Okay, and now I'm going to press menu. And do you see here on number 3 it says algebra? So menu 3, and then it says solve systems of linear equations. So I'm going to press that. Oops, that didn't happen. Hang on. Delete that. Let's try that again. Menu 3, 2. Okay, and it says number of equations. Well, I have 2 equations here. What are my variables? Well, I can use x and y, or like for this one, I could change that to a comma b. Right? And say okay. And then I just simply type the equations as they were written. So 2a plus 3b equals 7. And then I arrow down, and the next one is negative 2a plus 2b equals negative 2. I don't think it did. Okay. I double check my screen, make sure I've got the right equations in there, and then I simply press enter. All right, and so you notice here it says A then B, so that means A is 2 and B is 1. So this is A and this is B. All right, let's try that with number 9. So menu 3, 2, and it's gone back to X and Y, but I have X and Y this time, so I'm going to say OK. And then I simply type negative 2x plus 8y equals 14. Down arrow, x equals 4y minus 12. And I double check that I've typed everything in correctly, and I press enter, and it says no solution found. Okay, so we just write no solution. All right, let's look at number 6 here. We can use the same thing, menu 3, 2, X and Y again, okay, and we type y equals 2x minus 3, down arrow, 4x equals 2y plus 6. And we press enter, and it comes up with this wild looking answer. And what we know for this is what this little C and 1, or I'm not sure if it's supposed to be C1 or CL, but what this is telling us is that this is infinitely many solutions. Okay? That's their way of writing a ratio, so there are infinitely many solutions when we get that very unusual looking answer. Okay. All right, so that's how you can use technology to solve systems of equations. Now I want to touch on one more problem, and this one you might recognize. This was one of our problems from the week, and a lot of you had a great deal of trouble because it said to write a system. Okay, so when we write a system, the first thing we got to do is figure out, well, what are our variables going to be? So let's read the problem. A used bookstore also started selling used CDs and videos. In the first week, the store sold 40 used CDs and videos at $4 per CD and $6 per video. The sales for both CDs and videos totaled $180. And now over here, they've given us video sales on the y-axis and CD sales on the x-axis. So this is going to be our y, right? And this will be our x. So we know that X is CD sales. Okay, so they sold 40 CDs and videos. So CDs, X, plus videos, Y, equals 40. Okay. And then they talk about the money. The CDs were $4 each, so that's going to be 4X. And the DVDs, I'm sorry, the videos were $6, so 6Y. And when we sell, right, that's our money, and they said they totaled $180, so that means it equals $180. So now we have our two equations, and it says to graph them. So we come over to our calculator, and we can open up our graph, okay, and we'll go ahead and set it up as a relation because they're not in the y equals or slope-intercept form. So we'll say x plus y equals 40 and press enter. And we don't see anything on the screen, but don't worry, right now we're just going to input the two equations for right now. So our second equation is 4x plus 6y equals 180. Okay. Now we know we have to change the window. If you look here, our window goes from 0 to 40, and we're counting by fives, and same there. So we hit menu 4, menu 4 and 1 to change that. And so we're going from 0 to 45, and we're counting by fives. Same on our Y, 0 to 40 this time though. Still counting by fives. And we say OK. And now we can see our picture pretty well. Okay, so now that we've got it graphed on there, we want to get it graphed on our paper. So if we hit menu trace, so that's menu 5, 1, we can figure out, well, where is it touching here on the y-intercept? We're at 0, 40, so we know that we're here. Okay. And then if we trace down to the x-axis, oops, too far. We're at 40. Okay, so we'll connect our points there. Right. And then we'll look at our red line. So we'll use the down arrow. Let's see, we're on the red. Right, we want the red line. Okay, and so again, we'll trace up. The y-intercept is at 30. And the x-intercept, trace them back down. Is at 45. All right, so now that we've got it graphed, we look and try and figure out, well, where is it exactly intersecting? And that's been a difficulty for a lot of you to see on when you graph, because like if you don't get it lined up perfectly. So remember, we can now, I've shown you can use your calculator to analyze the graph. So menu 6, 4, and we're going to move our dashed line so that it's to the left of the intersection and then to the right, and it comes up and tells us 30, 10. So our point of intersection right here is at 30 and 10. And so what that is telling us is that they sold 30 CDs right, because X was our CDs, and they sold 10 videos. All right, now you probably have some work you need to get busy with.